Hey guys, what's up? This is EliGE's, and I'm going to quickly be going through the Operation Riptide changes. This is a major update to gameplay, and it's going to be changing a lot of things on what maps and what weapons you're going to be choosing throughout the rounds. So I'm going to quickly go through the very minor changes, where one that I haven't seen people go over a lot yet is the vision after death reduced from 3 seconds to 2 seconds, and vision by headshot reduced from 1 second to 0.5 seconds. Now this is a very small change, but this is something I didn't even know up until like 6 months ago, that it was different for a headshot for how much you can see after the death cam. So now that they've even reduced it more, when you die, you're not going to be able to see as much as you did before. You're only going to have 2 seconds now if you got killed in the body, and you're only going to have 0.5 seconds to see what happened, where is that guy going, and the comms are going to have to be pretty quick. And you as a player, you're going to have to recognize that your teammate does not know where they went if he got headshotted, because he only has 0.5 seconds for that death cam. Another quick change is the dualies getting a price reduction to 300, and I think that's going to be kind of cool. Maybe there's going to be some more CT pistol setups that we're going to be able to do and use dualies. They're actually a pretty good weapon, and you're going to be able to drop 2 dualies and a flash now. So I think that's kind of cool. It opens up a little bit more opportunities on pistol rounds. And let's get straight into the big operation changes. So starting off with one of the gameplay changes that we have, it's the one to the M4A1-S, where pretty much it's going to be changing it so you only have to do 4 body shots from any range. From far, medium range, close range, it's only going to require 4 body shots to get the kill, compared to the M4A4 where it is 5 body shots. The M4A4 from pretty much any range, close, medium, far, it's going to be 5, even if you're right in front of someone's face. So I think that this is going to overall make the M4A1 a really popular pick for most players, unless you just really like the A4 to use that as the default CT weapon. I think that overall the A1 is going to be a lot better compared to the A4. It's cheaper, it's $200 cheaper. It has a tighter recoil pattern. The recoil pattern is easier. It has a suppressor, and it only takes 4 body shots. I think that all of these combined is going to make it a lot harder of a sell to start using the A4 compared to the A1, even though the A4 has a way better fire rate. It might even put the A1 in a really weird situation where it's a little bit better than it should be right now, because I think the A4 doesn't really have anything going for it, and I think that they might need to do a slight adjustment to it, or maybe they change the price to it. Maybe it's 3,000 for both of the weapons, or you put the A4 as the one that's 2,900. But I think gameplay feeling, the A1 feels really good. Even when I was just playing in DM with it and spray transferring, just shooting at people in general, I think that it feels a lot better compared to the A4. And I'm not going to say it's a laser beam compared to how it was in like 2015, but it definitely feels a lot better. And I think it's going to be even better than the AUG. And I thought that it's kind of weird because the AUG was in a really good spot before, where it kind of had some niche uses where you're far range, and since it has a tighter recoil pattern and it has a scope, it's going to be pretty good, and it had some legitimate uses to it. But now, because the A1 just kills so fast with only 4 body shots, it has a suppressor so people might not even be sure where you're getting shot from. I think that it kind of fulfills the same niche that the AUG has. And since the AUG is 3,300 compared to the A1's 2,900, and the CT economy has been in such shambles recently compared to the T side, I think that it's going to be really rare to ever see an AUG now. And I hope to see some adjustments with that, just because I like seeing diversity with the weapons that you choose. At least we're going to be on an A1 wave for a while, but I would like to be able to use other weapons from time to time. I think it's nice to have that choice every now and then while you're playing in the game. Do I want to use the AUG this round? Do I want to use the A1? And if the A1 is just going to be better most of the time, I know that Valve doesn't really like that where just one weapon is way better, but I think that's kind of what happened now because of all the advantages that the A1 has. Moving on to the Deagle change, it is going to be 3 body shots, close, medium, far range, even if you're right in someone's face, to be able to get the kill. And I think that's a really good change. The Deagle was a little bit OP for a while, where it was just a shotgun at close range. You pretty much never even needed to buy the CZ unless you just really liked it. And I haven't even bought a CZ or a 5.7 besides pistol rounds in a really long time, because the Deagle is just so good. So I think that's a really good change overall, and expect to see a little bit more diversity with people buying the CZs and 5.7s again. Moving on to Dust 2, we obviously have this big wall that's here, and you're not going to be able to spam the mid doors or see if anyone goes into lower. I think that's what a lot of people notice as well. You just won't be able to see that. The only way you'll be able to see it is if you come to this little ledge or if you just come up a little bit closer here. I think a big thing for the T's before was that they spawned already posted on an angle. When you're an opper just posted here, it just comes down to if you hit the shot, reaction time, that type of stuff. But now the CTs might possibly have a better spawn than the T's. Like if he has this spawn and the T, he has the furthest away B spawn, maybe your opper has like one of these spawns, it might actually be farther away for the T to get to this point here to be able to look into lower. And if the CT is already posted here, then all he has to do is just hit this shot right here, and that's probably going to be very easy for a lot of oppers. So I think that there's going to be a lot of mind games. Maybe there's going to be a smoke that people throw. Maybe they want to throw it here to even deny even more vision, and the opper is going to be posting. Maybe there's going to be a late mid push that CTs are going to be doing. They're going to definitely be getting into lower more often. They're definitely going to be pushing mid more often. So I think that on T side Dust 2, it's going to be really hard now. I think that this map might even turn pretty CT sided because of how much utility the T's might have to end up using to clear some of these parts of the map more, or they're going to have to be wasting a little bit more time to make sure that they're not pushed mid, to make sure that they're not pushed into lower. They might need to use like a flash or two extra to make sure that nobody's in here, or they're going to have to be using something to get like these like oppers off. I don't know exactly what everyone's doing, and I'm not gonna give away like what I think is best for the team, but I think this is stuff that everyone has already thought of, and I think that's definitely gonna like shift the meta a little bit on Dust 2. I don't know if Valve really envisioned this big change with this wall here and not being able to see lower, but it's definitely gonna have some big implications for how people play the map, and it's probably the biggest update that we've ever seen to Dust 2 in a super long time, even bigger than these door changes. Maybe I'm being a little bit over the top with it. Maybe it's not as intense as I think it is, but I think it is going to be pretty big, and I think it's cool that we have some type of change on this map because it's honestly been pretty still for a while. And finally, we have the biggest gameplay change of the whole update, which would be the droppable grenades. And I think that a lot of people were expecting this to only be in freeze time, or they don't want it at all. But I think it's actually a kind of cool change that's going to allow for some unique strategies on the T side and on the CT side where you're going to be putting your smokes or mollies. And I think overall, it's a good change to have something a little bit different. Maybe I'll change my opinion in the future, but I think right now, as I see it, I think that it's cool that we're going to be able to see some more unique strategies and discussion between teams. So I think the thing that most people expected already when they saw this change is you're just going to be putting all of your smokes or mollies towards the small sites that need a little bit more help, which would be CT Inferno B is a really good example of that, where maybe people are going to start having one of the A players still smoke and molly for them, rotate, and you have your opper just come over mid-round after making sure everything's good at A. This drops the smokes for the B players, and they end up having 3 smokes and all of their utilities still. So they can still do car retake nades mid-round and have 2 more smokes for delaying and stalling out or having a really strong sight holds later on into the round. And then the A player is still just going to have his smoke for pit. And I think that people can do these types of things, but it's going to make A really weak too. I think it might be a little bit overblown with how strong everyone thinks that it's going to be. It's definitely going to be good, and it's going to be hard for the T's to read exactly where all the smokes are, which I think is another big problem of this. Is it's going to be difficult to read exactly where the CT utility is now. It's going to be pretty much impossible, and that is going to make it a little bit more like blind calls that you're going to have to do, or you're going to have to do more fake outs, and it's just overall going to be a little bit more messy from the T side perspective of reading the game. Another thing too is it might make eco rounds a little bit harder, where a really common strategy on eco rounds or force buys on Inferno specifically is people would cycle smokes at B and they would just have like an A stack. And this is going to be kind of hard for the T's to recognize, is it actually a stack or is it just a fake stack? Where maybe you have 4 smokes just being cycled here and you actually have 4 in the site. And it's going to be a little cheeky with people doing these types of stacks, and the T's are kind of just gonna have to guess or just like send in just like some guy just to scout out if it's actually a stack or if it's not a stack, which is going to come with its own risks. It's going to turn into like a lot of mind games for which each team is going to be doing and what utility they're going to be using to clear out certain parts of the map. And I think from the T perspective, you're going to see a lot of funny strategies. For example, the Sinners match on Mirage, where they just dropped him 2 smokes and a million flashes, and he just smoked 2 things at A and threw a million flashes while his whole team was popping up or B. And I think that's kind of funny, and I think that it's definitely going to catch some people off guard. It made the CTs rotate in that situation, They ended up losing the round, but I think that it's going to be hard for people to tell if it's actually a pop or not. It's going to be hard for people to figure it out because you're going to be able to do little delayed pops where maybe you're going to smoke CT, smoke backhaul, and you're having one guy throw all this utility. He's throwing 4 flashes, 1, 2, 3, and on the 4th one, that's where actually everyone goes, because these smokes last a long time. These mollies are still going to flush people out of these positions. So if he just throws all of his utility flashes and you go on like the 5th flash, that's going to be really hard for the CTs to figure out like what to do. Like, is it actually a pop? Are they halls popping? Because you could do the same strat where you're just dropping that guy all the utility, swing CT, smoking backhaul, all these nades, same thing, and maybe 3 are walking up arch on that same timing where the CTs are trying to like rotate and get ahead of it. Or you're just like halls popping, 2 guys halls or 3 guys halls, and you're popping out. And you're going to be able to do a lot of these strategies on different maps. Going to be really hard for the CTs to figure it out too. And I think overall from both sides, you're going to be seeing a lot of misdirection, and it's going to be hard to read the game. And I think that might be like the biggest criticism I have for the nade change, is it's going to be a lot harder to read the game. What setup are the CTs in? What's going to be like the most logical late round that they're in? Where are all their nades? Which side is weak right now? Which used all their utility? You're not going to know. And it's going to be hard for teams to figure that out. At least that's what I think initially after seeing it. And I think that it might be a little bit messy for a lot of teams in a bit. And last thing with the nades, I think that it's cool to bring up low HP players and like what is their role. Because before, low HP players were pretty much going in first and they're just dying instantly because they have no nades. Or if they have some nades, then they're able to actually throw like their smoke, flash, and get people into the site. And I think that teams are going to have to discuss, do we want our low HP player just going in and suiciding? Or do we want him drop all the nades to him and he's just going to be supporting us completely? And he's just throwing all the utility for everyone to go in. And I think that there's pros and cons to both, because I think it's very difficult for the low HP player to actually do the role of the entry, which is 1, to get the kill, or 2, to make space for the entry. But if you have low HP, then that means you're just going to be going in and you might just get shot in the foot and you're just dead instantly, and you didn't make space and you didn't get the entry, and you might just get like your second guy doubles, and it's very hard for him to get that trade. So I think that a lot of teams are going to discuss what they want to do, and I think that it makes more sense for the low HP player to just be throwing the utility. So at least he's doing something very useful, and then this front guy, second guy, they're having a lot of good flashes, smokes, mollies being thrown for them, and it's going to be very easy for them to get this kill, or at least a lot easier than just your first guy dying instantly. So I think that's a really cool thing to bring up too. So that was my quick thoughts on the Operation Riptide changes. I think it's pretty cool that Valve made a pretty big gameplay change. The droppable nades change is definitely a divisive change that a lot of people aren't really sure how to think about it. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. A lot of people are leaning towards bad, but I'm willing to give it a try and see how it actually changes the game. Maybe it opens up a lot of opportunities and it's a lot more fun. Who knows? I think that it's nice that we have something that's changing how a lot of rounds are going to be playing, and the gameplay, the strats, the tactics. I think it's cool. So good on Valve, and I'm excited to see all these changes and see you guys on the servers. Peace.